I want to tell you about the worst character I ever brought to a D&D table. It was a level 3 multiclass. Rogue, Wizard, Cleric. My character was a Changeling, a race that can physically transform into other people, with a charlatan background. A professional shapeshifter and liar. Built from 2 spellcasting classes and 1 skill-based class. Optimized to be able to do almost anything at the table. And I introduced him as a hand axe throwing barbarian. I had cleared it with the DM beforehand. He knew exactly what I was bringing, and mechanically, it was a fascinating build. I was proud of it. I spent hours building it. The other players hated it. Not because they said anything at first, but I could feel it. The energy shifted the moment my character started doing things that didn't make sense for a barbarian. The other players didn't know why my character could do what he was doing. They couldn't predict me. They couldn't interact with me narratively in a way that felt fair. And then one of them said it out loud. That their character felt underwhelming. That sitting next to mine made them feel like they were playing the game wrong, when really, I was the one who'd broken it. Instead of feeling like a clever twist, my character was a loophole walking around the table in disguise, and someone else paid the price for it. I was the min-maxer who accidentally killed the fun. And that session broke something for me. Because I realized the problem wasn't my character. The problem was that the game had given me the tools to build something that could derail an entire table's enjoyment. And no one had flagged that as a design flaw. It was just allowed. That was 4 years ago. I spent roughly 5,000 hours since then trying to fix it. And everything I've learned comes down to one idea. Bad builds don't exist. Unbalanced games do. Let's start by defining what a bad build actually is. Because when someone calls a build bad, what they really mean is, this set of choices produces a character that performs significantly worse than another character who made different choices at the same level, with the same resources. That's it. A bad build isn't a character who has an interesting flaw. It isn't a character with a creative concept. It's a character who is measurably less effective because of the mechanical choices made during character creation. And here's the thing. That gap, the difference between a bad build and a good build, has to come from somewhere. It doesn't appear by magic. It exists because the rules treat 2 different choices unequally, because option A and option B were not designed to produce the same result. Which means, if you fix the rules, if you make option A and option B genuinely equal in mechanical value, the bad build disappears. Not because you dumbed the game down, not because you removed meaningful choices, but because the rules stopped quietly punishing one set of decisions and rewarding another. That's the entire thesis of 4 years of work. And not every character should be identical, not that optimization should be impossible, but that the floor, the minimum power level of any character built within any reasonable set of choices should be close enough to the ceiling that the gap is never the thing that defines your experience at the table. Bad builds don't exist. They get created by unbalanced rules, and unbalanced rules can be fixed. So let's prove it. Let's look at exactly where the current rules create imbalance, and what fixing each layer actually looks like. Today, I'm going to give you the overview. Every one of these gets its own dedicated video with real numbers and before and after comparisons. This is the map. Attributes. The attribute system is where every character's power level is quietly determined before a single class feature has been chosen. Some attributes are reliably useful at every table in every campaign. Others depend entirely on a DM being prepared to reward their use. And when that doesn't happen consistently, the players who invested in those attributes feel it silently for the rest of the campaign. The fix isn't complicated in principle, but it took years to get right in practice. Every attribute in my rebalance system now has a mechanical reason to invest in it that shows up consistently, regardless of your DM, your campaign, or your class. And every attribute you dump leaves a gap you'll notice, not as a punishment, but as a real trade-off. The goal was to create an environment where every player starts from exactly the same place, with exactly the same realistic power ceiling, one that's also directly in line with how the monster manual scales in its encounters. When your starting power band matches what the monsters were designed for, the whole game clicks into place, in a way it simply doesn't in standard 5th edition. Races, backgrounds, and character creation. Character creation in 5th edition has a hidden problem. In the 2014 rule set, your race gave you attribute bonuses that quietly made some race and class combinations mechanically correct, and other flavor choices that cost you power. In the 2024 rule set, backgrounds took over that role. Either way, the result is the same. An experienced player knows which combinations are optimal before they've made a single creative decision. A new player doesn't. And that gap starts at character creation, before the game has even begun. My rebalance removes attribute increases from both races and backgrounds entirely. Instead, every race starts from the same point by foundation, with human and half-elves being the exception. And we'll get into exactly why in the next video. The result is a character creation system where your race and background are purely expressive choices. There is no mechanical correct ancestry for any class. You pick what fits your character concept, the rules handle the rest. That shared starting point is what makes everything else in the rebalance possible. Classes. Classes in Standard 5th Edition have two related problems that compound each other. The first is that too many of them don't feel genuinely distinct. Several martial classes play so similarly to each other that the mechanical difference between them is hard to feel at the table. Different flavor, similar loop. And most arcane spellcasting classes feel like variations on the same template, with spell lists so similar that the choice between them becomes an aesthetic decision rather than a meaningfully mechanical one. When classes don't have a clear, unique identity, when you're not really choosing how you want to play, you're choosing how you want to look while playing the same way. The second problem is the subclass quality gap. Within the same class, some subclasses are so much stronger than others that choosing one for thematic or creative reasons, without knowing the optimization landscape, can mean contributing meaningfully less for an entire campaign. And that's not a new player mistake, it's a design failure. In my rebalance system, both of these get addressed together. Every class has a distinct mechanical identity, a playstyle that feels generally different from every other class at the table, not just a reskin of an adjacent one, and every subclass within a class is a genuine lateral choice. Different fantasy, different tools, same contribution. Your subclass should define how you play, not how much. Spells. The 5th edition spell list has a power distribution problem at both ends simultaneously. At the top, a small number of spells are so universally effective that they crowd out almost every other option at their level. When one choice is so obviously correct that every optimized caster takes it, the rest of the list stops existing in practice. At the same time, a significant portion of the spell list, including many cantrips, are trap options that do so little relative to their alternatives that no informed player would ever choose them. The fix isn't to flatten everything into identical effectiveness. Spells should feel different. They should cover different situations. The goal is for every spell to have a genuine niche, a moment where it's the right tool and another spell isn't. That includes cantrips, which in standard 5th edition have a handful of options that dominate and a long tail that goes unused. When every spell on the list has a reason to exist, the choice of what to prepare becomes a meaningful expression of how you want to play your character, not a quiz with a correct answer. 4 sections of the player's handbooks, 4 sets of problems, and at every layer the argument is going to be exactly the same one. The player didn't make a bad choice. The rules made a bad offer. A fighter who wanted to be a powerful melee warrior didn't build wrong. The rules gave dexterity twice as many use cases as strength, and forgot to tell them. A new player who picked a thematic subclass didn't play wrong. The rules made that subclass mechanically inferior and forgot to flag it. A caster who explored the full spell list didn't prepare their spell list wrong. The rules filled that list with dud options and forgot to label them. Every one of those players made a creative, imaginative, completely reasonable choice. The game just wasn't ready to meet them where they were. That's what 4 years of work is about. Not building a different game, building the game that was already trying to exist, consistently, at every layer, for every player, at every table. Bad builds don't exist. Unbalanced games do. And now you've seen the whole map. Next video, we're starting at the foundation, the attribute generation methods, and attribute functionality. Why some attributes are reliably more useful and others depend entirely on your DM. What an expanded point-buy system looks like that puts every player at the same starting power band, and why getting that foundation right is what makes everything else in the rebalance possible. And then we're going deep on races, backgrounds, and character creation, then classes, then the spell list. Each one builds on the last, because in a properly balanced game, everything connects. If you're a veteran who wants to see the full breakdown, subscribe. It's coming. If you're a new player who just wants to know that your character idea is going to work, subscribe. I built this all for you. And if you're a DM who is tired of either pulling punches or accidentally crushing your players, subscribe. Because a balanced table makes your life dramatically easier. Bad builds don't exist. Unbalanced games do. Let's fix it.